In our headlines on this Friday, September 20th, here in South Korea. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Czech President Petr Pavel share optimism regarding prospects of plans for a joint nuclear power project in Dukovany, despite the presence of related legal concerns. And in an exclusive interview with Arirang TV, Czech President Petr Pavel voices hopes for productive partnership with South Korea to promote bilateral prosperity and broader security. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, fresh fighting between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah erupts across the border following the fatal explosions of communication gadgets in Lebanon in recent days. We start in Prague, where President Yoon Suk-yeol and his Czech counterpart, that is, Petr Pavel, sat down for a summit on Thursday local time and shared high hopes for the launch of a bilateral nuclear power project in the Central European country. Our top office correspondent Kim Do-yeon reports.
The Dukovany nuclear power plant project took center stage during a summit on Thursday between South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and Czech President Petr Pavel. Pavel invited Yoon to the summit at Prague Castle after Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power was selected as a preferred bidder for the project.
저는 파벨 대통령님께 양국 기업들이 함께 건설할 두코바니 신규 원전이 한 체코 경제의 동반 발전과 에너지 협력의 이정표로서 양국의 전략적 파트너십을 강화하는 중요한 계기가 될 거라고 말씀드렸습니다.
This bidding was actually a very important opportunity for Czech industries. We're hoping for a high level of local production with around 60% involvement by Czech companies.
The two leaders also addressed the potential threat to the finalization of the project's contract, namely an appeal against the Czech Republic's decision by U.S. company Westinghouse, who says the Korean company doesn't have the license to use the nuclear power technology owned by the U.S. firm. President Yoon showed confidence that this dispute will be resolved, while President Pavel also said resolution would be mutually beneficial for both South Korea and the U.S. Meanwhile, the industry minister said that Seoul and Washington are working to resolve the issue at the moment.
South Korea and the United States agree on the need to strengthen global cooperation, and this cooperation includes the private sector's role in clean energy. In this regard, both sides are closely discussing resolving ongoing issues such as export control and exploring potential areas for collaboration to the fullest extent.
As for other areas of cooperation, the two nations agreed working together in high-speed railroad infrastructure. The Czech Republic's position as a manufacturing powerhouse in Europe relies heavily on rail for its logistics. In fact, despite being smaller than South Korea, the country has 1.8 times more railway track. In addition, the two leaders discussed security issues, calling each other like-minded nations. They also condemned Russia and North Korea for their recent military cooperation and promised to work together in the global community as responsible members. In addition, the two signed an MOU on cooperation for rebuilding Ukraine.
The two countries have agreed to continue providing practical support for the people of Ukraine and to work closely together in the future reconstruction efforts of Ukraine.
This is just the beginning of President Yoon's trip to the Czech Republic. He's set to meet with the Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala, with whom he'll visit the city of Pilsen to see nuclear power plant facilities there and sign additional MOUs in different areas. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Also in the Czech Republic, President Petr Pavel took time to speak exclusively with Arirang TV to share his prospects for greater partnership with South Korea to promote bilateral prosperity and broader security. Our senior correspondent Oh Seong covers his remarks.
South Korea and the Czech Republic have a very promising future ahead in nuclear energy, security and high-tech cooperation based on their shared values as liberal democracies. That's according to Czech President Petr Pavel in an exclusive interview with Arirang TV. having agreed with President Yoon to enhance their strategic partnership in their summit on Thursday. The Czech leader highlighted the two countries' budding bilateral ties, particularly after Prague selected a South Korean consortium as the preferred bidder for its Dukovany nuclear power plant project.
We also believe in a great potential of developing this cooperation further on, not only on our own nuclear power plant, but also extending that cooperation and good record from I hope, a successful project to other European countries, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, who will be interested in securing their energy supplies through nuclear power.
In the face of objections by US firm Westinghouse, which claims intellectual property rights over Korea's source technology for the reactors, the Czech leader said it would also benefit the American company if the dispute is settled soon.
Both sides, KCHNP and Westinghouse, because with the technology of Westinghouse and the Korean production capacity and experience and guarantees, I believe that it gives us the best possible mixture of parameters that we are looking for. And of course, for both companies, it will be better to close these dispute by settlement rather than ongoing legal disputes.
As the two countries look to broaden the horizons of bilateral cooperation beyond energy security, Pavel also highlighted key strategic industries such as ICT, artificial intelligence, high-speed rail and transport grids, along with space technology. These collaborations are all the more crucial between like-minded partners as geopolitical interests and conflicting values blur the line between national and economic security. With rising concerns about military cooperation between Russia and North Korea in the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine, Pavel stressed the importance of strengthening ties with South Korea in defense, security, and fighting disinformation.
We have a number of views that are very similar with South Korea, so I believe that cooperating with such a country is a natural choice. We are not only economic partners, we are also partners in tourism, in culture, but we are also partners in NATO, because South Korea is a partner to NATO, because we believe that we share also our security interests.
As the Yoon administration aims to bolster South Korea's role in defending freedom, prosperity and the rule of law as a global pivotal state, the Czech leader noted he and Yoon share similar worldviews against the rise of authoritarianism. Furthermore, sharing his personal experience of Korean culture from his visit in 2016, Pavel said he enjoyed Korean cuisine and history, particularly rural areas and monasteries, as he called for greater cultural exchanges. The two countries will celebrate 35 years of bilateral relations and 10 years of establishing a strategic partnership next year. Oh Seong, Arirang News, Prague.
Now, as mentioned earlier by our presidential correspondents, an envisioned endeavor of much interest between South Korea and the Czech Republic is the plan for a nuclear power project in Dukovany. Our business correspondent Lee Soo-jin covers the implications of this initiative for Korea's push to expand its exports of nuclear reactors to Europe.
South Korea's nuclear power plant capabilities are once again in the spotlight amid President Yoon Suk-yeol's visit to the Czech Republic. The trip comes after a South Korean consortium led by Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power in July was selected as the preferred bidder over France's Électricité de France to build at least 2 nuclear power units. The 2 units planned for the Dukovany nuclear power station are APR-1000 reactors, a smaller version of the APR-1400s previously built by South Korea at the Baraka nuclear energy plant in the United Arab Emirates. The APR-1000 generates a power output of around 1,000 megawatts of electricity, which is less than the APR-1400's 1,400 megawatts, but makes it more suitable for the Czech Republic's lower electricity demand. It also costs around half of what is required to build France's APR-1200.
We have a fully, completed supply chain. We can build the nuclear power plant at the right time, and by building the nuclear power plant at the right time, we could save a lot of money.
The reactor was also certified by the European Utility Requirements Association last year, meeting more than 5,000 requirements and complies with the latest requirements of the International Atomic Energy Agency and the Western European Nuclear Regulators Association. Meeting these standards is critical at a time when European countries like the Czech Republic are turning to nuclear power to go carbon neutral by 2050. If the deal is finalized in March next year, it could create further opportunities for South Korea to expand exports across Europe. But challenges remain, namely U.S. firm Westinghouse's claims of intellectual property rights over Korea's source technology for the reactors.
The basis of their protest is it's related with the nuclear export control. It's a kind of international agreement to not to export their technology to the some rogue countries which might misuse the nuclear technology. But Korea and the U.S. government, we have a kind of alliance for nuclear power.
This alliance, he says, makes it likely that an agreement will eventually be reached, especially as the U.S. firm also has a long history of cooperation with South Korea. With Yoon's trip to the Czech Republic further ensuring success in securing the deal, South Korea is expected to soon cement its position as a key nuclear technology exporter to Europe. 이수진, Arirang News.
In other news, the U.S. state of Delaware will host the leaders of the U.S., India, Japan and Australia for this year's Quad Summit this coming Saturday. In remarks to reporters on Thursday, Senior Director at the U.S. National Security Council, Mira Rapp-Hooper, said on the agenda are security threats posed by North Korea. The planned summit follows North Korea's recent disclosure of images of its uranium enrichment facility and its latest test launches of ballistic and cruise missiles. Rapp-Hooper also noted that Pyongyang's expanding cooperation with Moscow may be addressed given its broader security implications. Back here in South Korea, another North Korean balloon has been found on the premises of the Seoul Gov't Complex. Now, earlier on this Friday morning, authorities discovered debris at the edge of the parking lot near the complex's main entrance. The balloon consisted primarily of household waste. North Korean balloons also previously landed on the roof of the government complex back in May. Unification Minister Kim Yong-ho shared a statement today urging North Korea to release South Korean detainees in the regime. The statement calls on Pyongyang to, quote, immediately and unconditionally release South Korean detainees. It also condemns Pyongyang for the unreasonable and excessive sentencing of detainees in the absence of a fair trial. Today, that is September 20th, marks the 4,000th day that South Korean missionary Kim Jong-uk has been held up north. According to Seoul, Kim and 5 other South Koreans remain in detention in the regime, with at least 3 of them sentenced to life of hard labor. In the Middle East, fresh and fierce fighting between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah erupted across the border on Thursday following the fatal explosions of communication gadgets in Lebanon in recent days. Our Shin Ha-young has the latest.
Tensions in the Middle East are escalating. Following the explosions of electronic devices, including pagers and handheld radios, which killed 37 and injured 3,000 more in Lebanon and Syria, the Israeli military said it carried out large-scale airstrikes on southern Lebanon on Thursday, targeting 30 launches and terrorist infrastructure sites. The Israeli aerial attack also hit a weapons storage facility. Meanwhile, the Israel Defense Forces reported that a Hezbollah missile and drone strike in northern Israel on the same day killed 2 Israeli soldiers. The leader of Lebanon-based Hezbollah said the use of explosive electronic devices had crossed a red line and accused Israel of what he said represented a declaration of war.
The enemy violated, through this attack, all the regulations, laws, and red lines.
Israel hasn't made an official statement regarding the explosions, but has tacitly acknowledged its role by declaring it will continue military attacks on Hezbollah.
Over the past several days, we have held a series of important discussions. This is a new phase of the war. It includes opportunities, but also significant risks. Hezbollah feels that it is being persecuted, and the sequence of military and defense actions will continue.
The U.S., meanwhile, emphasized the need for diplomatic solutions while reaffirming that there will be no change to its military posture in the Middle East.
We are committed to the defense of Israel against terrorist organizations. That includes Hamas, it includes Hezbollah, includes other Iranian proxies. We will continue to stand by Israel's right to defend itself. But we don't want to see any party escalate this conflict, period.
We believe ultimately that the best way to lessen tensions in the region is through diplomatic means.
Amid fears of wider war, the UN Security Council is scheduled to meet on Friday to discuss the recent mass explosions. 신하영, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, over on Wall Street, investors on Thursday responded enthusiastically to the Federal Reserve's rate cuts, sending the market soaring to new highs. Our Lee Seung-jae covers the latest rally.
Wall Street rebounded on Thursday with major stock indexes on the New York Stock Exchange closing at all-time highs amid revived optimism due to the recent rate cut by the U.S. Federal Reserve. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 42,025.19, up over 522 points or 1.26% from the previous day. The index closed above the 42,000 mark for the first time ever, recording a new all-time high. The S&P 500 also set a new all-time high closing figure, climbing 95.38 points, or 1.70%, to close at 5,713.64. The tech-heavy Nasdaq also saw its index soar, up more than 2.5% from the previous trading session, to close above 18,000. After the U.S. Fed cut its benchmark interest rates by 50 basis points on Wednesday, the rally was centered around large tech stock due to revived market optimism. Major tech stocks which recently struggled rebounded nicely on the day. Apple, the largest U.S. company by market cap, closed at $228.87, up 3.71% from the previous trading session. Semiconductor giant Nvidia also soared on the day, up nearly 4% to $117.87. Tesla enjoyed massive gains, climbing over 7% on the close of trading. The recent Wall Street rally also comes on the back of new unemployment figures, which fell to the lowest level in 4 months, easing concerns of a sharp economic downturn. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Come next year, the ancient coastal city of Kyongju in southeastern Korea will play host to the APEC summit, and many are hoping visitors will make time to take a leisurely stroll down a quaint street in this city that shares the sights and tastes of Korea's past and present. Our Park Gon-woo was there.
A long street filled with stores selling a variety of food and desserts, along with interesting things to enjoy. This part of Kyongju in southeastern South Korea is Hwangnidan-gil, a combination of the neighborhood Hwangnam-dong and the popular street Gyeongnidan-gil in Itaewon, Seoul. Streets full of fun content in Korea are named like this, and among them, Hwangnidan-gil is considered one of the most successful cases. The area attracted some 13 million visitors just last year, thanks to its unique cultural content blended with the Korean traditional and historical sites nearby. Apart from the historical sites, visitors can also relax at Hanok-style buildings, get souvenirs at gift shops, and try localized food and snacks like shibon bread, a type of bread that resembles the Korean penny.
I came here because it's a hot spot, and especially to try this shibon bread.
The view around here is beautiful, especially as the buildings are low due to the historical sites nearby.
As you can see, Hwangnidan-gil is a popular tourist spot. But these days, it's also a popular site for companies training their new employees. Last year, thousands of employees from different companies, including conglomerates like Hyundai Motor Company, visited the site for training and conferences.
We thought training new employees here at one of the symbolic places of Korean history would be good. They can go around and do some networking at this hotspot.
And the local economy is seeing a boost as these companies cooperate with local restaurants and cafes.
They are a big help as we are now seeing better sales even on weekdays. Small businesses have been struggling since COVID-19.
The cafe owner also said he hopes more foreigners will visit Hwangnidan-gil, especially during the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in Kyongju next year. And as Kyongju aims to bring in a total of 19 million visitors this year, and potentially more next year, more vitality is expected to be seen in the city down the road. 박건우, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced on Thursday 160 million euros or nearly $180 million in aid for Ukraine, most of which will come from frozen Russian assets in the EU.
And these 100 million euros come from the proceeds of the immobilized Russian assets in the European Union. Because it is only right that Russia pays for the destruction it caused. We know that more is needed, so we must keep transferring part of the proceeds from immobilized Russian assets to Ukraine's energy resilience.
Von der Leyen also said 60 million euros will go to Ukraine as humanitarian aid for shelters and heating, while the 100 million euros from Russian assets will be used for repair works and renewables. The European Commission President added that Russia has crippled about 9 gigawatts of Ukraine's energy infrastructure in nuclear, thermal and hydropower, saying that they aim to restore 2.5 gigawatts of capacity, which is 15% of Ukraine's needs. Additionally, von der Leyen said the EU will increase exports to Ukraine to supply an extra 2 gigawatts of electricity. Following the death of a Japanese schoolboy who was stabbed in the southern Chinese city of Shenzhen, Japan's foreign minister on Thursday said that Japan has strongly requested China to provide a detailed explanation and to take all possible safety measures for Japanese nationals in China. Japan's foreign minister Yoko Kamikawa said that the 10-year-old boy died in the early hours of Thursday after he was attacked on Wednesday morning. The victim was on his way to school at about 8 a.m. local time in Shenzhen when he was stabbed by a 44-year-old assailant whose surname has been identified as Zong. Local police said that a suspect has been detained, but motives for the attack remain unknown. The boy, who held Japanese nationality, was born to a Japanese father and a Chinese mother. Peru, which has been suffering from large wildfires since July, said on Thursday that almost 90% of the fires are under control or extinguished. The president of the Peruvian Council of Ministers, Gustavo Adrianzen, said during a press conference on Thursday that while most of the country's wildfires are now under control, communities must cease the practice of lighting grasslands, a common practice in Peru, which are one of the main causes of the fires. Wildfires in Peru have killed at least 15 since July and have burnt more than 30 square kilometers of cultivated land. In Thailand, police on Tuesday rescued a woman who was found completely trapped in the coils of a python. Captured on a police bodycam footage, 64-year-old Arom Arunro was found sitting down on the floor of a house with a 4-meter-long python wrapped around her body. Arom says she was about to wash the dishes when the snake attacked her, saying, "As soon as I sat down, the snake bit me." After 2 hours, local police and medical officials rescued Arom, who had multiple snake bites, and took her to a hospital for treatment. The reticulated python, which can grow to be one of the longest snakes in the world, is commonly found in Southeast Asia, including Thailand. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Much anticipated rain is bringing heat relief to the country today, but it will rain down heavily. Until Sunday, southern provinces could see 50 to 150 millimeters of downpours, and the east of Gyeongju province could see more than 300 millimeters. But today's rain will end the record-breaking heat wave that scorched much of Korea for the last 4 months. So please brace for an extreme weather shift through the weekend, and if you're returning home after longer holidays, stay safe on the roads. This afternoon, Seoul gets up to 28 degrees. Daejeon, Daegu, Gwangju will be topping out at 29 degrees Celsius. After a big cool down this weekend, afternoon highs will gradually rise towards the middle of next week, but morning lows will stay below 20, leading to wide temperature differences between lows and highs. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Those are the headlines at this hour. Coming up next is Arirang TV's exclusive interview with the Czech President.